Hello and welcome back to the Edge of Right. My name is Joe Graves, partner here at Graves Thomas. Matthew's out today. He's at a wedding in California. But I'm joined here today with our newest attorney here at Graves Thomas, Alexa Fisher. And we're excited to have you as a part of our team. And we just wanted to have a chance to let everybody get to know you a little better, both
Yeah,
professionally and personally.
I'm excited to be here.
All right. Well, let's talk on the legal side of things. In your background.
Okay.
And where are you originally from?
I am from Naples, Florida, so the other coast. My parents were born and raised there. My sister and I were born and raised there, so not too far.
And
A Floridian.
me
Yeah.
too.
When people hear that my parents are both born in Naples or born in Bureau, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, because Naples. I mean, how big is Naples?
It's grown a lot. Most people I feel like are even going north, kind of like in Vero, like they're going up to Bonita and Fort Myers now because Naples has just grown so much. But when my parents were born there in the 70s, it was nothing.
Yeah, I remember like growing up. There wasn't much there,
No.
but it's kind of turned into a place for the
Hot
affluent.
spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, when did you first become interested in becoming an attorney?
My family is big in law enforcement. My dad's a police officer. His dad was a police officer. My stepmom was a defense attorney. I kind of grew up in that world a little bit. Um, but I didn't know for sure what I wanted to do. I thought maybe medicine, which is funny because now I'm in personal injury. But once I got to Florida State, didn't, didn't love the biology classes, went more towards like psychology. Yeah, I always knew I wanted to continue my education. I didn't want to just stop after undergrad. My 4 years law school just seemed like a really good opportunity, something I would like to do.
Sounds like Emily. Let's just go to school for fun.
Yeah.
No,
I love school. I'm like a nerd. I would do more school if I could, if they paid
are
me
you
to do it.
serious?
If they paid me to do it, I would. But turns
Uh,
out you just lose money doing that.
yeah. I mean, I gotta admit, like high school was pretty easy for me. Um, College, you have to study. Had
Mm.
to figure that one out. But, law school was a whole different animal, and
Oh
I
yeah.
don't think I'd wanna go back to school. We have to do our CLEs and all that stuff, but I
Yeah.
think I've had enough of school. But,
Mm.
you came to us from another major personal injury law firm. So what really kind of, you know, drew you to this area of the law?
So I never really considered being a personal injury attorney when I was in law school. That was never like in my horizon or something that I thought
Yeah,
that
me
I'd be
neither.
interested in. Never. Um, one of my good friends that I went to law school with, he called me one day, like soon after I'd passed the bar, and was like, "We're hiring. Like, I think you'd be a great, fit for this job." And I was actually living in Vero Beach at the time when he called me, and he's like, "But you'd have to move to Fort Lauderdale, and it's a bigger office, bigger firm." And I just kind of jumped at the opportunity and started to learn about this area of law. You know, I learned, not learned, but I discovered, I was like, oh, the medical side of this. Interesting. The nerdy me was like reading MRIs and like going to look up, medicine, the medicine side. So it was kind of a surprise for me. I never thought that this would be the area of law that I would be interested in, but once I started to do it, I really liked it. So
Yeah, I was a prosecutor right out of law school, and,
a lot of people do that for
y
these. I heard it's a great experience.
I had somebody, a good friend of mine, said, "This is great training to be a personal injury lawyer," and I was kind of
Mm.
offended by it. It's like,
Yeah.
I just couldn't imagine myself in personal injury law.
Yeah.
Um, but back then, when I graduated, like, the starting salary was, like, $23,000. Yeah. And, I had a friend of mine who actually went to, college with my sister, and he had a personal injury practice in Tarpon, and so they
Mm.
contacted me, and I'm like, "I can make more money? I can actually pay my mortgage
Yeah.
because I was married and we had a kid. I think we have
Hmm.
something in common. We both had a kid our last year in law school,
Yeah.
and, it was a little rough little tough, and thought, well, if I can make some more money, and it seemed interesting. I knew the person who I was going to, we actually, when he was going to law school, because that was over in St. Pete, we played softball together.
Oh, cool.
So he played baseball at Stetson, and he was a terrific softball player. We had this church team and we'd beat all the GE. We were really good, and he's one of the few second basemen. He played second base that could turn a double play, and of course these guys would get all frustrated because here's this church team coming and beating the pants off of them. But
If there's
yeah,
one thing
so
I've learned about Joe, it's that he likes sports.
yeah, I just kind of fell into it, and then once you get into it, you kind of realize like a lot of the case law that's generated is out of this area,
Yeah,
out of this field. I've always had a desire to help people.
me too.
So it's kind of interesting because people ask me, what I do, and sometimes I hem and haw because I just hate to be categorized, as a personal injury lawyer because there's a lot of them that really kind of give the whole profession a bad name, and we're not like that, and we're in a small town. Our clients are our neighbors and our friends, and so it's different. But I think the good thing for me, and I think probably you'll discover, you've been out of law school, what, 5 years,
Going on close to 4.
4 years?
Yeah.
There's a lot of satisfaction helping someone, when they've been hurt and they can't work, or you're helping a family, process and go through the situation. So, um, that's what I really enjoy about it.
No, I would agree. I mean, even in the short amount of time that I've been practicing, some of the things that you see, and even if it's not anything horrific, it's just the stress of being in an accident, and you have to get your kids to school and you have to go to work, and now I don't have a car, and what do I do? And just to be able to help someone ease through that process even is rewarding. So
So what was law school like for you? I think you went to Nova Southeastern, right?
yes.
So
And
what was that experience like?
I loved it. Like I said, I'm kind of like a nerd. Um, I did go through COVID school. Like I was in school with the Zoom and the COVID thing. So I got through like my first year um, with normalcy. And then I think towards the end of my first year is when we kind of did the Zoom thing. But I loved it. I loved being like studying in the library with my friends and learning a lot. But it doesn't teach you or really prepare you, I don't think, for the practice of law. It
That's
prepares
true.
you to think like a lawyer, but it doesn't prepare you to like, this is what you do every day at work, and this is how you stay organized and how you deal with client. And so that was a big learning curve, I think.
Yeah, no one in my family had been a lawyer, and I mean, I knew some people that were lawyers, but it never really like
Yeah.
exposed to me. And I had no idea that they posted assignments before the first day of class.
But yeah. And you get chewed out if you
Well,
show up.
I got called in
Yeah.
contracts class, and
Yeah.
first day, and I'm like, "What are you talking about? It's first day. I want to get the syllabus and kind of talk about what
Yeah.
we're going to do." And like, no, you're supposed to have like read like 50, 60 pages and brief these
And you're like,
cases.
what's a
And
brief? I don't.
yeah, it was the whole thing was such a learning curve for me. And it was just like being thrown into a pit,
Mhm.
and I didn't really have, that many people to help me. There was one person in our church, Pam Campbell, who's now a judge, sitting judge over in St. Pete. And she, gave me her books and some, you know, words of encouragement, and that did help. And then I had a good friend of mine who was a lawyer in Fort Lauderdale who went to Stetson, and it was good to be able to bounce things off him and talk to him as well. But I mean, I get first day I called, I didn't know what this whole Socratic method was, and that you get
Yeah.
called out and embarrassed in front of your friends, and you know
And
so
I mean, obviously we had technology, but I still, a lot of my professors, I'd say half of them were like, you can't have your computer. Sometimes people just sit in class in college and you're on your computer. It was still like, no, 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 you can have your book and your notes,
oh really.
but you can't have your computers out. So it's not like they could call on you and you could be like, "Rrr."
When you
So
when you took the bar, did they allow you to do it by computer, or was it still
I
handwriter?
think I blacked the bar out. I'm just kidding. I think you can choose. Like,
Well, no, we couldn't choose. We didn't
yeah,
have an option.
I did it by hand. Like,
just how many blue books can I fill out? And you're
yeah,
just,
yeah.
you're dancing
And you're
around an issue.
bubbling.
It's
Yeah.
one thing you learn in law school. Like there's no answer. You just, there's an issue, and then you're like dancing around all different sides and looking at it and all that sort of stuff. But I remember this is how far technology has come in my evidence class.
Mhm.
Judy, if you're watching, this was you. Judy pulls out this.
Mhm.
It's click, 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 click. The professor stops, and you can't do that.
No.
Now I think they all have laptops.
Yeah, it's probably discretionary, and most, professors, I'm sure, don't mind. I don't know. I just had a few, like Professor Brown for contracts, and like I remember you just could not have your computer out, and you kind of had to. You were on the spot. Like
Well,
you can't
now,
rely on your phone or your computer. Like you were on the spot.
yeah. Well, just like note taking now. There's note takers you can put on your phone and take
Yeah,
notes.
but I'm a bit like I was the type of person when I studied for like finals. I would write my notes like on blank pages, and I could almost if I was in a exam, I could remember like which page I had wrote that part of like whatever I was doing. Like I could visualize. Like that's kind of how I had to write notes. Like I don't like typing on a computer because I need to write it out, and like I can visualize my page where I had that information.
Yeah, I would read, then I would read and highlight, and then I would
Yeah.
take notes from the highlight, and then I would
Mhm.
end up reviewing the notes. That's how I had to remember. I went to school
Yeah.
with this young lady. Like she could read it once and she had it all down. A truly person with a
Yeah.
photographic memory. Amazing. So, well, what do you enjoy outside of work?
Well, we just moved back here, and we bought a new house. So, kind of like DIY projects, just kind of making our house a home right now is kind of what takes up our weekends, and just spending time with my daughter, my husband,
How
our
old's your
dogs.
daughter?
She's 4.
Blake, right?
Blake, yes. She
She's a
came in
cutie.
yesterday. She is cute.
I met her
She's a
yesterday.
talker. She will talk your ear off.
Got personality, that's
Yes.
for sure.
Yes.
So, what's something about you that people would be surprised to know?
Well, like I think I already kind of said I liked school, but I really like history. Like World War One, Two, all the movies, all the documentaries, um, reading about it, the books. Like I love that kind of stuff. And I don't know if you would know that about me. Just
I love all that stuff
yeah,
too.
I love that stuff. So
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Um. So, what do you think is the biggest misconception that people have about personal injury law and personal injury lawyers?
ambulance chaser. That you're just all you care about is money. um like the cheese ball. I mean, everyone can picture it, right? Like in my head right now, I'm saying it and I can picture it. But I think, there's probably lawyers out there like that, like you said, but it's so much more than that. Like you said, it's really more the core of it is just helping people and getting them what they deserve for things that they've gone through. So,
And so, what is it about working with the clients that you enjoy most?
I mean, I'm a people person. I like the connection. Like I like to make a connection with my client. I remember when I had first started, there was a young lady, and she was in a bad accident with like her 2-year-old, and my daughter at the time was 2. And she was like hurt herself, but her daughter, like I watched the body cam, and she's like holding her daughter. It was like very traumatic. She's holding her daughter's bleeding, like not super conscious, and and I'm talking to her on the phone, like after, they had already been to the hospital, and I'm just like putting myself in that situation. Like that could happen to anyone, and that could be me and my daughter, and just really feeling for these people and like connecting with them, I think is something that you don't get in every area of law for sure. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
So, how important is communication and trust with the attorney and the client?
I mean, trust for sure, but communication goes hand in hand with trust, I think, because if you're not able to get a hold of your attorney, like I'm calling the office, I can't get anyone on the phone, I have questions, and I think it's frustrating for people, and it kind of like turns them off. And if you're just, if you're able to communicate and be there and answer the phone when they have questions and provide that sense of like ease, I just think it goes hand in hand with trust. And it's a big deal. I mean, some people are trusting you with their life or like their, a serious injury or like their future. So it's like a big responsibility. And I definitely think the communication goes
Yeah, that's
hand in hand with
something
the
we
trust.
stress with our staff. People like you may have other cases to work on, and we do.
Yeah.
But in that client, this is their case.
Yeah.
This is the one. And, when they have something or they're calling, they have something on their mind, it's important to them and
Yeah.
it's important to listen and to understand what the need is because there's various things that'll come up during the case, right? I mean, like you said, it can be very stressful just handling the insurance, getting your
Mm-hmm.
property damage paid, getting the rental car, you know, all the stuff that goes along with, being involved in an accident.
Yeah.
And so I think that is where trust is built. Like, how responsive are you?
Yeah.
When you say, I'm going to call a client back, are you calling the client back?
Yeah.
Um, all those things. And so, from the client's perspective, they haven't been through this before and they may have like a question about attorneys anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so that's kind of the honeymoon period where they're not really like sure, but that's where I think that trust is built, making sure that you do what you say and follow up with the clients and meet
Yeah.
their needs. And it may be something in the mind of the staff that it's routine, but in the mind of the client, it's super important, and
Yeah.
we need to treat it that way.
Exactly. And if I were a client, I kind of try to put myself in their shoes. Like you said, we might have several clients, but to them, it's their life. And so even if you think it's a small, if they're like, if we are like, oh, that's a small, like routine question for them, if you're not answering and you're not there, it almost just seems like you're not important. So I think that's a big deal.
Okay. So what are you most excited about in this next chapter of your career?
I think learning from you and from Matt and just expanding my knowledge and growing as an attorney, handling new types of cases. Um, yeah, I think it'll be exciting.
Now, your husband's from Vero, right?
Yes,
He grew up here,
he did.
and I think you said you spent some time here before.
Briefly, yeah, like right after I got out of law school and I was studying taking the bar.
Well, it must have made a good impression on you because you came back.
It did. And we decided Vero, but Naples was a contender, obviously, too, because we just really wanted to be back with family. So it was either going to be like his family or my family. But when I lived here a few years ago, I loved it. I loved the close community, um, family friendly, just, I don't know. I didn't have that desire to be like, oh, I want to be back in Naples. I was like, I want to move back to Vero. So
Vero is really a unique community, and
it is.
people, do rally around each other and support one another. I think it's very different
Yeah.
from a lot of places. And, you can live here for a while and maybe take that for granted. But, I appreciate the members that we have of this community and the things that, we've been able to do. And I love being involved in the community. I love being involved, with the schools or supporting teachers or supporting children and the other things that we're involved in the community. I think you'll find it a very rewarding place. And it's a great place to raise a child
It is. Yeah.
or children.
Children. Yes.
So, what from you talked about, law school, like it teaches you concepts. It
hmm
basically teaches you how to think like a lawyer, like you said. What was the biggest adjustment going from law school?
Well, they also don't, in law school, there's not like a personal injury class, right? So I graduated from law school and I think that goes to say, I mean, with any area of law you're going to practice in, but criminal law, you go to criminal law class and you learn about it. Doesn't mean you're like an expert in criminal law and you're going to just be able to practice. But with personal injury, I was really like, I don't have any knowledge about it. So I really started like from nothing and like learn everything there is to know about it. But um, I think handling the work, like the business work aspect of it, like keeping a schedule. It's not just like your grade is dependent on this. It's people's lives, people's cases, and your job. So I think it was just, and I worked at a big firm, so there's a lot of volume and just keeping everything organized. And I didn't struggle with that in law school. So it was just like, oh my gosh, this is, my scheduling, and I have to use a calendar, and I gotta, figure out how to run a case. And I don't know. It was just not, you don't learn that in law school.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, at least my experience, through my career is learning how to effectively use your time.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
And
Time
I use the
management.
analogy of, the hamster on the wheel.
Yeah.
Like that hamster is running on that wheel.
Yeah.
He's working hard, but he's not getting anywhere.
Exactly.
And so I think, in any profession, but especially the law, like we call them red herrings or see the forest through the trees and all that sort of stuff. But you have to be able to know how to focus on the right issues and the right things to move the
Yeah.
case. There's so many different things that you can, or rabbit holes
And
that
spend time on.
yeah,
Yeah.
you can be that hamster running on that wheel and you're working hard, but
Yeah.
you're not getting anywhere. And so I think that's really the art of
Yeah.
practicing, is being able to learn how to focus on those things that matter, and getting those things done, making sure, and really making sure no stone is unturned, that
Yeah.
we're looking for everything that we can possibly get as far as evidence or coverage or, you know, defendants, whatever it is, that it's a relentless pursuit, but
Mhm.
it's,
But there's an
something.
art form, like you said. I definitely had to learn that. I was not just like, you know, I'd say my first year in working, I had to learn that time management. How
Yeah.
do you not waste time and use your time effectively?
One of my prior firms, I took over this case. It was a heavy litigated case. And I mean, it was like back when we had paper files. It was probably like 3 rows in
Mm.
a file cabinet. And there must have been 100 depots that were taken. And they took the prior attorney took 100 depots except for the 2 that mattered.
Yeah.
And, so I had to like consume all this information, but you really learn, like, you can spend a lot of time like chasing this, that, and the
Yeah.
other. And, it really, it's not effective. To be effective, you have to be able to have a strategy and be precise and be able to execute it. And that's why, I talked to you the other day when you came in, like from every case, from start, we're looking at it as a trial case because we want to prepare the case from the beginning as though it's going to be a trial. That means we're getting all the things and all the groundwork and all the necessary things done in order to, present the case. Now, most cases settle. Even the cases that are filed, 85% of those will resolve. But the reason they resolve
It's
is
because you
because you do
prepared
the
it
work.
well.
That's
Yeah.
right. I've done defense work, and, like the lawyers that are going to do the work,
Yeah.
and the lawyers that aren't going to do the work, and it matters. It matters. Um, so
I agree.
I think that's like the biggest thing I probably learned, how to be, effective in use. And then the other thing that I really like, and what I think really like separates a good lawyer from a great lawyer, is being creative, thinking outside the box. There's so many issues that you run into in a legal case. It can, can seem like a dead end. Sometimes it is. All right. But most of the time you can find a way around.
Yeah.
And to me, that's what makes, you know, uh,
Law.
practicing law
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Finding a way to get something done when everybody else, or I love taking over a case from another lawyer,
Mm-hmm.
when they haven't been able to do anything with it, and then we're able to, take it and get the client what they deserve. We had that happen. It was with a major law firm, and that back when the statute of limitations was 4 years, it's now 2. The tort reform that's been passed in Florida, but that firm sat on that case for 3.5 years.
Oh, yikes.
And we took it in. It was actually a friend of mine referred the case, and we ended up, there was a 7-figure resolution to that case. They couldn't even, and this is a big major advertising firm, they couldn't even find the right defendant to get
Oh,
insurance information.
Lord. Yeah.
So, a couple things fell into place in that case, but it should have fallen into place like 3 years before that.
Mhm.
And so that to me, when we get something like that, and something, we're able to take that case and really get justice because this lady was hurt really bad, and we're able to get justice for her, and it was just that's very satisfying to me.
Yeah, I agree.
So, what's been the most rewarding part of your career so far?
So far, I mean, I would say like uh, it's not a lack of confidence coming out of law school, but just seeing where I am like from
It's a
4
lack of
years ago.
confidence.
But, just to be like, wow, like I can do that. I can settle cases. I can get people money for being injured and what they deserve. And like I advocated for this person where before law school, I was never like an advocate for anyone. So just seeing the outcomes of my hard work has really just been, it's
Yeah,
rewarding
I
so far.
I think, confidence is a big thing, and I remember, right out of law school, when you have a hearing with someone who's been practicing for
Yeah.
30 years or something, but, I realized, like, the longer not me, but the longer some lawyers have been practicing, like, it's been maybe 20 years since they actually read the rules of
Yeah.
procedure or looked up a case, they're going back, and so, it really taught, like, the art of preparation and being prepared and that was the funniest thing about Matthew because I heard him right out of law school, and he didn't know the answer, but he would sure convince you that he did.
Yeah.
And he had that confidence, that swagger that really it takes to be an effective trial attorney.
He does.
And I love that about Matt. And he'll never admit that he's because you're always right, Matt. You're
Yeah.
always right, buddy. Yeah, I love him like a
Funny.
son. He's a great lawyer. I'm really proud of him, becoming board certified. What are your aspirations in your career? Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Hopefully it's still
Yes. But like I said, I just wanna grow, like, you grow as an attorney, but as a person too, because you're coming across different situations, you're connecting with different people, and just becoming a bigger part of my community. Um, I mean, I would like to get board certified. I don't know how much litigation I'll end up really being a part of. I like thinking about, like you said, preparing the case from the beginning like it's gonna be in trial. Yeah, we'll see what the future
I want you to
holds.
get board certified.
Yeah, I'll
I
do it.
think that's, I presented that challenge to Matt. He accepted it and he became board certified. It takes some work and it takes some time because you have to have a certain number of trials under your belt, but I think it just makes you well rounded. And I think that, if you're going to pursue a craft, then you want to be, excellent in that craft and pursue, those things that really define you as a lawyer that really knows what they're talking about. Cause like less than 3% of the bar is
Really? Yeah,
yeah. So, because you have to have a certain number of trials, you have to pass a board, it's a lot, but, it's satisfying. And I think that, if I was a client, that would be important to me.
definitely.
To,
It kinda sets you aside,
I
you
mean, if
know?
I was having major surgery, I don't want it to be the doctor's first. I want somebody who's done like 10,000 of these. So I'm just another routine. And it's kind of like that with the law. Before I opened my own office, I wanted to make sure, it was really important to me that I've handled every type of case that I would take in
Mhm.
because I didn't think it was fair for the client for me to be experimenting or learning on their case. I did that under the instruction and under mentorship of other lawyers, one being Richard Schuler, who was a great lawyer. Learned so much from him. But I think that that's what you have, and you have the benefit here being around, we're a small office because we wanna be. I got out of the whole firm thing because I had my own way of doing things in ways that I thought would be more effective. I remember when I was a clerk in law school, I was at a big firm clerking, and they had an attorneys meeting, and they argued, like, over an hour over the rug that was gonna be in the entranceway, and it's like, I don't wanna be involved in I
Yeah.
wanna be focused on what's important. I don't wanna be wasting an hour of time at the office, talking about silliness. I'd rather have that be home with my family, and I think, we've talked about this before, being successful as a lawyer or in any really profession is finding a good balance. I mean, you're a
Definitely.
mom, you have a kid, you can't, that's an important part of your life. And so you have to find balance between work and between home, and always like spiritual side and your physical side, taking care of yourself, exercising and doing the things. That's the way it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what I've really tried to implement in my office. Cause when I started practicing, I was expected to be in there like 7 a.m. and I'd leave like 11 that night,
Yeah.
work on Saturdays. Of course, we didn't have like Westlaw on the computer. We didn't even have a library. I had to go to the county law library on the weekends.
Oh.
Carol would usually go with me. Back in those days, you had a like a digest. Then you'd find the case. You'd look up the case. Then when you found the case, then you had to copy it. You had to make 3 copies: one for yourself, one for the opposing attorney, one for the judge. Then you had to highlight it. It was a big process. So a lot of my weekend time
I bet.
was,
It's
just getting ready for the
time-consuming.
next week. It's
Yeah.
just not like you can just run in and,
Yeah.
and get it done. It was a smaller PI office. But, I think in those days, a lot of different things were thrown at me and I learned about a lot of different things that still carry over into my practice today. Because people are going to ask you questions about things that really aren't our area of practice. But, you'll pick that up as you go. So, well, we're really excited to have you. I mean, my interactions with you thus far has been positive. I think, there's kind of an it factor attorneys need to have in order to practice in this area. I think you have that.
Oh, thank you.
I think you handle yourself really well. Um, you know, you need to be assertive, but you need to also be able to be empathetic and listen.
Definitely.
I think one of the frustrations I saw with clients in other firms is that the lawyer comes in and they'll say, "Well, this is,"
Yeah.
and my tactic has always been, the client is the captain of the ship, and we're giving opinions and information, and then, but the ultimate decision is the client. You have to choose your clients wisely,
Mhm.
but I don't think people, no, humans just don't like to be told what to do, and I live with someone who doesn't like to be told what to do, and so I think if you just present reasonable facts and you do the work and you show the client, then at 99% of the time you're gonna reach the same
Yeah.
conclusion.
Well, and I think you said too, I mean, mostly a woman thing, but that we listen. The clients want to be heard. They want you to listen to them, listen to their complaints, like how they feel or what they think, and not just come in, like you said, like tell them what to do. This is how a case goes. And
Yeah, I think
so,
that's something we have to work on as men. I told you that I prefer female professionals a lot of times because, like, you go into the doctor's office and not you, Dr. Grassman, because you listen to me. Um, a lot of times, they're in and out. They don't want to, and
yeah.
I remember I went into like an orthopedic injury and I waited like an hour and a half and the doctor comes in and like within 30 seconds, he's down the hall dictating. I didn't even get a chance to tell him
Yeah.
everything that was wrong. And so I think that can happen in the legal side. You get just so busy and, you want to move on, but I think it's important to listen. And I think women do a much better job of listening
I agree.
than men. We really have to work on that. You can ask my wife.
Yeah. I'm going to have Dylan listen to this
40,
podcast.
40 years, 40 years of teaching me how to listen. So yeah, she always tells me
And active
2
listening.
ears, 1 mouth. Yeah,
Yeah.
God
I
gave you
like
2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
I like
Yeah.
that.
Well, as we wrap up, is there anything else that you'd like to just share with us?
I mean, I loved it here so far. I mean, it's only been a few weeks, but like I said, the family environment, caring about the clients and really caring about your work, it means a lot to me. So I'm really excited.
It matters. When I opened the office, I always, what was important was respect. And, it didn't, if you're chasing money, then you're going to cut corners. You, you
Yeah.
you have to chase the work and be respected for the work that you produce. And if you respect the work and you give, the work the attention that it needs, everything else will fall into place. And that's kind of like our ethos. And also, we like to treat our clients like we'd want to treat, our own family. We kind of saying there for a while, be a name, not a number. And that's true.
Mhm.
You want to know the client, not just a number on a page. I actually got trademarked on that. That's my saying. If anybody uses that, but I appreciate your time
Of
coming in
course.
here. I know our clients are going to be excited to work with you. We're excited to have you and looking forward to a long and fruitful career from you. And welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.